Okay, while we're still testing and we have some of this bugs, please just unmute yourself. If you can see and hear me, just unmute yourself and talk. Let me just get some feedback.
I can see you.
Okay, thank you.
I can see and I can hear.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, then we can just get started since I know some of you can see me and you can also hear me. All right, so this is Microsoft Excel for beginners. This is where we're going to start from. And I believe we all know how to get to this point in your worksheets or in your workbook, right? You know how to search for your workbook and you know how to open it. So I'm not going to do that right now. But if you don't, it's fine. Just find your start button in your desktop, then search for Excel or Microsoft Excel. It should open up for you. All right. So, but then this is a blank workbook. This is what you see when you open a workbook, right? And I want to really begin from the basics because I have had one or two experiences with people who go for recruitment. I've had experiences with people who went for recruitment and you know, some of the questions that they asked were just kind of tricky and it's more or less something you wouldn't expect. So I'm going to show you something. So normally when you open your workbook, this is what you get and this is what you see. But then depends on what you're doing and where you work, they can decide to show you something that is slightly different from this. And I'll do that just now. I'll do that just now so you can just get a slight idea of what I'm talking about. All right. So this is it. So you can have something like this, right? If you turn on your workbook, you can have something like this blank. Oluwole Damlola, you can just drop a chat. I will reply that. So you can have this as a blank worksheet or a workbook, but at the same time, it looks very different from the conventional style of Excel workbook, right? Very, very different. It's blank, it's white. You're not even seeing your formula bar, and most people are not really familiar with something like this. So what if I give you something like this? I mean, you turn on my PC and then this is what you see. How do you go about it? So what you actually need to do is to go back to your view tab here. Go to your view tab and then check this part of formula bar, headings, and grid lines. Just watch it. These lines are the grid lines. These headings contains the row and the column labels, and then the formula bar as usual is there also. Okay, so let me just quickly now explain this Excel layout. I'll try to rush this because for the time that we've wasted, I'm really sorry about that. So this is a blank workbook. What you see when you log into when you open your Microsoft Excel, right? And at the top here, it's called the title bar. It contains the title of your workbook. All right, so beyond the title bar, what else do you have? You have here, these are called the tabs. You have the file tab, the home, insert, page layout, and all of these are all tabs, or whatever you want to call them. You might call them menus. Okay, so beyond the menu, you now have, or under the menu, you have what is called the ribbon. The ribbon contains these little options, and they are in groups. For example, in this ribbon here, you have a group called clipboard, the paste, the cut, the copy, and the painter right here. Now, under this other group here is called the font group. I hope I'm not too fast. I hope I'm not too fast, everyone. Just please unmute and give me a response if I'm too fast.
You're not too fast.
All right, thank you very much.
You are a bit fast, please.
Okay. I'll adjust. All right, so this right here is a font group. It's still under the home tab right here. This is the home tab, and this right here is the font group. And under the font group, you have where you have the font style, which is this, where you have Calibri. You have the font size right here. This is where you change the size of your lettering. You can decide to choose whichever one you have here. Now you can see that there is, for example, there is no 30, there is no 29, there is no 31. You have 36 next. But you can as well put in any of those figures by just typing 30 in the space provided and press enter. So by default, you have a font size of 30. All right, so I'm just going to go through this slowly there. Right here is for the alignment of your text, alignment of your write-up or whatever it is that you're doing. And this is the general group. Okay, so I'll quickly take a pause on the tabs and the groups right there. Let me just quickly still go ahead and explain the other parts of this. Now, when you open an Excel app, what you have is called a workbook. Like this right here now is a workbook. And in a workbook, you have worksheets. It's more like a chapter in a book. I don't want to say a page because it's not really a page, but it's like a chapter. So in a chapter, you can have multiple pages. In a chapter, you have multiple pages. But in Microsoft Excel, we don't call them chapter, we call them sheets or worksheets. So you see it below the screen here. So firstly, we have workbook. And a workbook contains worksheets, singular or plural as the case may be. But by default, if you're using Excel 2016 and above, what you have is a single default worksheet. I think the earlier versions have 3 default worksheets. So how do you identify the worksheet? It's below the screen here. You see the sheets one, that is showing a particular sheet. Now you can create more sheets if you like. You can create as many sheets as you would. Okay, I'm using an earpiece. I see a comment, someone is asking that I use earpiece. Can someone unmute and just tell me and give me feedback on the audio, please?
The audio is okay.
Okay, thank you. Can someone else just make a comment also?
Yeah, it's okay.
The audio is okay.
All right, thank you.
The audio is also okay from my end.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, so to create more worksheets in your workbook, you use this plus sign down here below the screen. When you click on it, it's supposed to create more sheets for you. So you see sheet 3 right here, sheet 4, sheet 5, and so on. So you can have 1,000 sheets in the same workbook. So let me go back to sheet 1. Now, this is the thing with opening or having multiple worksheets. If you have multiple worksheets, please do ensure that you rename them after the content in the worksheet. For example, in sheet 1, I'll just double click sheet 1 here and say introduction. So if I click on this, it takes me to sheet 1 that I've labeled introduction. So I know that content inside sheet 1 is probably just introductory content. So it gives you an idea of what to do. Now, if you're no longer interested in the worksheet, you can delete it by right-clicking to select delete. So let's go further. Now we have these labels here. These are our column labels. You have column A, column B, column C, column D, and so on. You have thousands of them. It's not actually A to U. You have thousands of them. And then this is our row labels. You have row 1 to like 10,000. I can't really remember. And each of these rows and column combine to form what we call a cell. So each of these, for example, where you have this green box, is called a cell. A cell, a cell, a cell. Now, in the cell is actually where we input our data in Microsoft Excel. In the cell, you input your data. Now, each of these cells has what is called an address. The address gives you the location of the cell. Now, how do you find the address of a cell? The address is the intersection of the row label and the column label. The intersection of the row label and the column label. So here is column C, cell C3, because at the intersection of column C, row 3. Right here is C3. Now, this place that I have workbook is at the intersection of column F, row 5. And we say it is in cell F5. Please pay attention to the naming of these cells because it's virtually the basic or the foundation of whatever it is that you're doing in Microsoft Excel. All right, so this part, this long bar here, I don't know if you can see it, is called the formula bar. It contains
Formula bar.
Yes, the formula bar. It is it contains the formula of whatever it is that you're working on in Microsoft Excel. Sometimes it also displays the contents of the cells, but then it's called the formula bar. This other part here is called the name box. It also displays the cell address of your cells. Remember, we said workbook is in cell F5. So each time you click any of the cells, the name box will display the cell address for you. This is E12, cell E, column E, row 12. So that is about the Excel interface. For now, I think we can proceed further from there. Do you have any questions from anyone there?
No, sir, at my end.
Okay, anyone's question? Anyone else with question?
No, from my end.
All right, thank you very much. Then we can proceed.
No, just write it.
We can proceed right now. Okay, so I think what we should do next is actually what we'll do next is to just make use of some of these options under the Home tab, right? If you have used any versions of Microsoft Office, you can make use of your cut, copy, paste, right? It works the same way. The only difference is in Excel, most times you are able to cut out the whole content of the cell. You're able to cut out the whole content of the cell. So let's say this is right here. I have to cut it, and then to paste it, to make a duplicate, you need paste this way. So when you cut and paste, you're taking out the original content from whatever cell it is and creating a duplicate of it. Not like really duplicate, you're removing it and putting it somewhere else. But when you make use of copy, which is this, or Control-C, you're making a duplicate, more like a photocopy of it, and you can multiply it as many times as you want. Okay, so up next here is where you change the font size. Up here is where you can change the font size for the contents of your cells. For example, we can increase the size here. Sorry, we can increase this. We can increase the size here and reduce it here. You can also do that using this option. And here you can as well just go ahead and change the font style. You can choose any of the styles here. It's going to be applied on the content of the cell, these three. So you can see whatever style you choose, it reflects on the cell. Just make sure that before you begin to change the style, the cell is selected or highlighted. All right. Now this right here is for you to make your content bold, italics, underline. Can I ask a question from the house? Is there anyone right here who has knowledge of MS Word before or does not have proper knowledge of MS Word? Please unmute and just drop me a message, or let me just hear if you have not made use of MS Word before.
I have not been MS Word.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have not made it.
I have not made use of it before, and I find it difficult, but thank God for this opportunity.
I was actually trying to skip some of this introductory part because I know it's the same thing with what you have in Microsoft Word. So, but since we have quite a number of people who are not really familiar with MS Word, I'll just go with the basic. We'll just continue the way we're going. All right, so this option right here is to make your content bold. Please, to make it bold, just like the font, make the font bolder. And this for italics, to make it slant. This to underline. And this right here is to apply borders to your cells or to your content. You decide what kind of border you really want. Now, let me quickly make let me draw your attention to something now. From all of these options right here, you see that some of these are they have a little arrow by the side. This here, this here. This arrow is just saying there are more options right here. It's like the options, there are more than one options there, so they are all grouped together. All right, so if you have all of these that have this kind of options, it's more like saying there are more options there. Click on it to see whatever it is, the other options that's available. So right here we have for example, right here we have this underline. This is single underline. A single underline, put it in this cell here. Okay, so for example, we have a single underline. By default, if you click this, what you get is a single underline. As you can see with Timothy right here, it's a single underline. But if you make use of this option beside it, you can see for double underline. So I'm just going to click it so we can see double underline for Timothy. Most times people use this, especially if you have something that looks like a total, a sum. People that do accounting with Microsoft Excel, you might actually need double underline for that. And this right here is for border. Now, all of these grid lines that you see on the screen, by default, when you print your document, it does not appear. Your document will only come out in a blank paper. But for whatever reason, you might actually want your document to come out in a table form with all of these lines there. So if you actually want these lines to come out to show, what you need to do is to apply border to your document, whatever kind of border But if you do, for example, if I highlight all the cells like this with Ctrl+A on my keyboard and then select all borders, now you see these lines. So if I print this now, these lines will actually appear. So I'm just going to undo that and take out the borders. So depending on the kind of border that you want, you can select from the available options. This is a fill color. This option here is a fill color. It allows you to fill the background, to change the background of a cell. For example, right here where we have cell, I'm going to change the background to green or light blue, this way. So the fill color allows you to change the background of a cell. And this is the font color. It actually allows for you to change the text color to any other color that you want. You can choose a color from all of these, and you can see more colors here. Just go ahead and select more colors, then pick a color from there. Okay, please, a quick notice. We have less than 2 minutes, or about 2 minutes approximately. If this goes off, please just try and connect again with the same link and password. All right, so we'll proceed right now. These options here is for the alignment. In Microsoft Excel, there's a vertical alignment and there's a horizontal alignment. The vertical alignment is the alignment top to bottom, right? And the horizontal alignment is the alignment from left to right. So the top, this one at the top here, this 3 is the vertical alignment. This one to align to the top. Now you can see that cell has gone up, right? Align to the middle and align bottom. That is the vertical alignment. But by default, horizontally, it is aligned to the left. As you can see, this is left, this is center, and this is right. Now, we are learning this because it depends on what you're doing. But definitely, you have to format your text. You have to format your worksheet if you're working. So this right here is for indents. The margin of your text from the cell border, or from the edge of the cells. So you can see that this is increasing the indent. Sorry, let me do it this way. And this is actually reducing it. It's not really the same thing as aligning to the left or to the right, but it's just depends on what you're working on. It gives your work a little bit of face lift. Now this right here, merge and center and wrap text, they are really, really important. Okay, so beyond merge and center and the wrap text, the next group that we actually have on this part is one of the most basic and the most formal part, important part of Microsoft Excel. It's actually called data format. This particular number group here, it's called the data format, and it allows you to determine the kind of content that's in your cells, the kind of content you're working with. For example, by default, the data format on a worksheet or a workbook is the general data format. This one right here is the default setting. So the general allows for text, alphabet, digits, what kind of keys or what kind of figures, all kind of figures in your cells and your workbook. So you can input something like this, it's valid. You can input ABC123, it's valid, like a username. You can even input something like this, it's still valid in the, sorry, that's because of the @ symbol, apologies. You can even input something like this with special character, it's still valid in the general format right here. So let's look at other data formats that we have. We have general, we have number, we have currency, we have accounting, and all of this. So I'm just going to pick 2 or 3 of them and explain them. So for number, if you set something like this, let's assume in this column C, I want to have numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, something like this. Just defaults or have numbers generally. What you do is to apply the number data format right here. So if you do that, it gives you something like this, right, with decimal places. You might not really need decimals, so you can decide to take them out using this option here, just beneath. Can you see my mouse?
Yes, I can
Yeah.
see it.
Okay, so you use this option here to reduce the decimals. Just click on it once, twice, and the decimals are gone. You can click on this to increase the decimals. If you want 1000 decimals, go ahead and add to your work, but right now we don't really need it, so we will take it out. Now, when you're working with numbers, especially in thousands, by default or for better reading, you should have a comma. So what you should do is to use this to add a comma to it. So after every 3 digits, a comma is added. I'm going to take out the zeros again, and then, so by default, whatever I type in, all of these columns that already have the number data format is going to be adding a comma to it for easy reading. So you don't have to go ahead and be looking for how to add a comma to your numbers if you're working. All right, so the other data formats that we have there is you have currency, you have accounting, you have short date, long date, and so on. So let's quickly make use of currency and accounting, then we'll just proceed from there. So I'm just going to highlight this and select currency. It's almost the same thing with number data format. The difference is it has added a currency symbol. Now, if you don't still want the decimal places, do well to take them out. And then let's quickly check out what the accounting one looks like. For accountant areas, you can see that your currency symbol is aligned to the left of the cell. In the same cell, the currency symbol is to the left, while the numbers are to the right. It's just to help you ease your formatting style when you're working with Microsoft Excel. So let's just keep all of those. I'm just going to highlight these cells right now and apply short dates. We'll just work on short dates and long dates, then we'll move on. All right. So I'm going to say today's date is 25 3 2023. This is short date. Let me type it again, 25 3 23. Now you're seeing this hash here because the content of the cell is bigger than the cell width. It doesn't mean that this is an error. No, look at it in the formula, but it is still there. But the content of the cell is bigger than the cell. So it's either I reduce the font size of the cell or increase the cell width. I'm just going to reduce the font size and it is there now. Remember when I typed this, I only typed 25.3 and Microsoft Excel automatically added the rest to it. That's because we gave it a short date data format. Okay, so let's go for another date, 24/4/2023. We can do something like 21/5/22 as 2022. So you can see how that works. So in this column here, I'm just going to make use of the long date style. All right, so the same thing we did 25/3/23. Let's see what Microsoft Excel will give to us. it has automatically converted to a long date for us. So depends on what you're working on. Please do well to give the right data format. It's actually going to help your work and it makes it easier for you. Okay, so I'm going to wipe all of this. I hope we're still together and someone is learning something right now.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, now by default, you will see that some of our cells are not really, okay, this particular column or this particular row is looking bigger than the rest of the rows. So you can actually adjust the row height or the column width of your cells. You can do it for one cell or you can do it for a group of cells. I will show you how to do that. So if it is a row, bring your mouse to the space, the edge of any of those rows, click and drag. When your mouse changes to this sign that looks like a cross, click and drag. Then you can have a bigger row height. Another way to do is to highlight, if you're having a group, highlight the group of rows together like this. Just bring your mouse to the edge, click and drag like this. Hold your control key, then do the same thing to bring your mouse to the edge and drag. Now you can see that they all have equal row height. They all have equal row height. Remember to highlight it first before you do that. If not, it's not going to work. It's only going to pick a single row for you. Another method to do that is to right click. After you're done highlighting, look at row height here, select, and then you can input your dimensions here. So I'm just going to give it, let's say 25 and press OK. It has shrunk a little bit, but they all have equal row height. And the same thing also applies to the columns. The same thing, column width. You can decide to give it whatever dimensions you want, and it's going to be applied. Or do it the same way to click, highlight it first, let's hold your control key, let's click and drag to give equal width dimensions. All right, I do hope we are there now. Okay, so let's just let's take a pause from there. So let's take a pause from there and let's do something really practical now. Sorry, I said practical. We've been doing practical all day. Okay, so but let's go further in the class and let's do something. So basically in Microsoft Excel, there is a formula and there is a function. You know, this, what we really do with Microsoft Excel is to we use it for more of data. I don't want to say only data analysis, but yes, basically that's what it do the most. You know, you can use it to analyze data easily and fast, and it's one of the most important or default and most common software out there. So it's important that we all use it. So if your data, if you're using anything that, if you're working on anything that looks like calculations, mathematics, figures, numbers, beyond that also you can even still use Excel. You want to get staff details for your organization, for your company, you want to keep records, you want to manipulate records, Excel should be your go-to tool in that situation. So for example, let's just let's quickly do something. So while working with Excel, two basic things are one of the things that we use is formulas and function, and there's a difference between formula and a function, though they are almost the same thing. They give us the result we want. For example, so how do we get on with our formulas and function? To get on with formula and function or function, you start with your equal sign. You select your cell and type the equal sign. So when you type equal sign, what you're doing is to tell Excel that what is coming into this cell is going to be a formula. You're telling Excel that what is coming into this cell is going to be either a formula or a function. And then that Excel should process it. So remember to always start with your equal sign for either a formula or a function. So I'm just going to do something right here. 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. Sorry. I think there are so many data formats here and so many formatting that I've done on this worksheet. So I'm just going to go to the next sheet. Under sheet 3, I'm going to rename sheet 3 and then say formula. So let's work on sheet 3, please. I've done so many things with that sheet 1, the introduction, and I don't really like it. Okay, so I'm just going to say 4, 5, 6. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. Okay, so one of the common things that we do with Excel is basic additions and subtraction, right? You want to know the number of sales your company made this month. You want to know how many people, how many clients you got this month. Basic additions, basic subtractions, and let's start from there. So if I say something like this, now remember I talked about cell address the other time, and we said the cell address is the unique ID of a particular cell. And in this case, this letter 4 is on the cell B3. B here, 3 here. The intersection of the cell, of the column and the row is B3. Okay, so we're going to say equal to, we are going to say this is equal to, remember to start with an equal sign. We want to add this together, 4 and 1, equal to B3 plus C3. Now you can see that as soon as I pick up the particular cells, Microsoft Excel, as soon as I type the particular cell address, Excel automatically selected those cells for me. So equal to B3 plus C3, and I press enter. It gives us an addition of 5. So instead of using calculator, you can do something similar with Microsoft Excel, and it runs that very fast for you. I can still say, now what we just used is called a formula. We can go ahead and say, let's use another formula and say B3 plus C3 plus B4 plus C4 plus B5 plus C5, and then punch enter. It gives 21. So if you sum all of this together, you should have 21. Now, when you do something like this, B3 plus C3 plus, with this plus sign, it's called a formula, because there's actually a function to get that done for you in Microsoft Excel. And the function will be, let me type it here, equal to, remember to start with your equal sign, because if you don't, it's not going to process it. For example, I'm not putting equal sign here, I'm just saying B3 plus C3 plus C4. Excel just thinks you're writing something in words. It's not going to process anything for you. So when you press enter, that's what you have in your cell. So remember to always start with an equal sign. So let's do the same addition with a function and say equal to sum, open your brackets, B3, comma, C3, close the brackets, press enter. If you don't know how to get your bracket, please hold your shift key and press where your bracket is. On my keyboard, it's 9 and 0. Hold your shift key to press that, the bracket should come up. So you can see that this, the formula and the function they perform similar actions, although depending on how advanced you're working, yes, they are slightly different. If you're still with me and you understand what we've done so far, please just unmute and just let me know.
All right, with you.
I'm with you, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. So that is how we work with.
I have a question, please.
Okay. Please go ahead.
Can I go ahead?
Yes.
Okay. When you were making your summation, that the sum SUM did you type it on the keyboard or you clicked on something?
Okay. Let me do that again. Now, when you open your equal sign, you start with any of these functions, whatever you type on the keyboard. Most times there's a function, inbuilt function in Excel, and Excel will just give you an expo of all the functions that start with that letter. So when I start with S, it came with all of this. Most times you have to just memorize this, especially if it's what you're working with. So when you start with S, you have this, and then you have sum. So you can see under sum, you still have so many sum. You have some ifs, some product. These three are still sum, but these are conditional sum functions. They are conditional sum functions, so but we'll not be talking about that today. So when you type in your sum, go ahead and put in your bracket. Now you have this number 1, number 2, and so on. So if you have 1,000 number, after you type in your number 1, which is your okay? Is that a question?
Yeah, I'm following. I think I lost at a point, but I got to that point where you got the sum from those options, from the scroll down, drop down box.
Okay. Yes, I'm saying, I see a question in the chat box. I'm saying, yes, a formula and a function can give you the same answer, or should give you the same answer. The only thing is, when you are working with the wrong data format, we talked about data format previously. If you're working with the wrong data format, you might have errors between a formula and a function. Yes, but I'm not going to really talk about that yet. But it's still fine. If you're using the right data format or the default data format, your function and your formula should give you the same answers. So let's just proceed. Now, for the formula, I said, okay, so now this is why functions and formulas are a little bit different, and why people actually, the functions are actually better at times. So I have these 6 cells and I want to add them together. In a formula, I have to do A equal to B3 plus C3 plus B4 plus B5 and then plus C4 plus C5, right? To add all these 6 cells together, punch enter, we have 21. But in a function, you can do something like this. Sum, open your brackets, B3, then use a column and say C5, close your brackets, and you also have 21. Now what we just did is called a range. We summed a range together. Why do we call it a range? A range is a group of cells that are in sequence. A range is a group of cells that are in sequence. Say, for example, something like this. If you have content in all of these highlighted cells, then we say it's in a range. If you have content like this in these highlighted cells, then that's also a range. If you have something like this, then that's also a range. So a group of cells together that are in sequence is called a range. So if you have a range, you can actually use the column to specify that Excel should pick from B3, anything between B3 and C5 should be summed together. But if it is not a range, you have to break it with a comma, B3, B4, B5, C3, C4, like that. It's also going to give us the same answer, which is 21. I do hope you all get that.
Yes, very clear
I
now.
have a question, please.
All right, please go ahead.
Okay, when using the function for that range, do you have to select the cells first before you use them, or you just click on that, you just do B3 column C5? You have to select them first before applying it.
Okay.
I didn't get that part.
You know, you don't have to select them. Now, okay, for today, I'm actually calling out the cell addresses, B3, C4, whatever. I'm actually calling it out because I actually want you to get the basics. So, but I can as well just say equal to sum, open my brackets, select this, that's to click, close, select the semicolon, and then select this with the mouse without typing it. Close my bracket, it still gives us the same answer. So, but then if I do all of those selecting and selecting, you will actually not get the cell addresses, which is actually very, very important. Knowing how to reference your cell address in a function or in a formula. I think that's really, really what Microsoft Excel is all about. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. So we can still go further. Our time is almost up, but we can go further. Let's do, so beyond the sum, you can still do something for subtraction. For subtraction, it's going to be, I'm not really sure Microsoft Excel has a function for subtraction, no, but what we have is a formula for subtraction, which is actually the default. Can somebody use a formula for, can somebody just unmute and tell us if we want to use a formula for subtraction, what should it look like?
Okay,
That should be
equals to
Slash.
Okay. Can you just take one person?
I think it should be slash.
Okay.
That should be equal to, I think, a dash, like small dash.
Okay, small dash. We have a slash, we have a small dash. Any other?
Yes, I think it will be equal to B3 minus C3.
What is minus?
There's a dash in the keyboard.
All right. So it's actually a small dash. A small dash will give us a subtract. We do the minus or subtraction for us because actually there is no function for it. Can we please just mute? Okay, thank you. All right, so it's going to be equal to B3 minus C3, and that should give us 3.
All right, I do hope you're still here, and if you enjoyed this session and you learned something, I do hope it was worth your time also. So if that is you and you want to continue learning, please join other learners in our community, and to do that you'll have to make a one-time payment of 5,500 naira only this week. 5,500 naira only during this week. It will give you access to all of our video tutorials and content. Yes, you can make your one-time payment to any of the bank details above or on your screen. You can also make secure payment via our website or on Paystack. I will leave a link in the description below, or use the button below the screen to make the payment. Okay, and you can also make bank transfer to the account details on your screen. The account name is Bamishaye Timothy, account number is 0159047872, and the bank is GTB. If you've done any of these, please send proof of payment via via WhatsApp to 07084687855. All right, when you're done with that, it will allow me grant you access to the community. And this is where we're going to drop the curtain today. I will see you in class. Thank you.